In Okinawa, Japan, they have a secret to living past 100 that has absolutely nothing to do with expensive medicine or elite gym memberships. They practice Hara Hachi Bu, the habit of stopping their meal when they are exactly 80% full, ensuring their bodies are never overtaxed, sluggish, or bloated. Most of us are doing the exact opposite with our money, stuffing our lifestyles until we're financially breathless and one car repair away from a total collapse. If you want to stop the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and finally own your time, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a wealth-building breakdown. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are applying this ancient biological wisdom to your bank account to find the 20% gap that will eventually buy your freedom. Meet Mark, a 32-year-old marketing manager who earns $75,000 a year but feels like he is constantly gasping for financial air. Mark is what I call a 100%er, meaning every single dollar that hits his account is immediately spoken for by a nicer apartment, a car lease that eats his soul, and small lifestyle upgrades that felt like rewards but have now become shackles. He isn't living a life of luxury, he is simply living exactly at the edge of his means, which is like driving a car at its red line for every single mile of a cross-country trip. Because Mark is consuming 100% of his financial oxygen every month, he has zero room for error, zero room for opportunity, and a constant low-level hum of anxiety that follows him into every room he enters. The fundamental trap that Mark and millions of others fall into is believing that their income is meant to be spent rather than managed for growth. When you live on 100% of what you make, you are essentially telling the world that you are a pass-through entity for your employer's money, moving it from their bank account to your landlord's or the local grocery stores without keeping a single drop for yourself. By adopting the Hara Hachi Bu method of finance, you decide that 20% of your income is off-limits for consumption because it has a much more important job to do. That 20% is your freedom fund and your ticket out of the rat race. But as long as you're eating the whole meal every month, you are effectively starving your future self to provide a temporary 20% upgrade to your current comfort. To visualize why this 80% rule is so transformative, think of your financial life as a high-speed train traveling toward your future. When you live on 100% of your income, the train has no brakes and no emergency exit. If a single rail breaks, whether that's a job loss or a medical bill, the entire system collapses in a catastrophic wreck. However, when you deliberately cap your spending at 80%, you are building a massive safety margin into the tracks themselves. That 20% gap creates a buffer zone where the friction of life can occur without stopping your progress. It means that when the unexpected happens, it is merely an inconvenience rather than a tragedy, and you can navigate the storm with the calm confidence of someone who knows their foundation is rock solid. The most dangerous part of modern life is that 100%ing is often invisible because it is disguised as being a responsible adult. Mark thinks he is doing fine because he isn't in massive credit card debt, but he is actually suffering from a silent condition called financial fragility. Because he never leaves any room on his plate, he can never take advantage of the opportunities that life throws his way, like a once-in-a-lifetime investment or the chance to start a side business. Living on 80% allows you to accumulate dry powder, which is cash that sits ready to be deployed the moment the world goes on sale. While the rest of the world is panicking during an economic downturn because they have no margin, the 80%er is calmly shopping for assets that will fund their retirement for decades to come. Many people hear the idea of saving 20% and immediately think it is impossible because their bills are already too high. But this is usually a symptom of Parkinson's law, which states that expenses always rise to meet income. If Mark's income were suddenly cut by 20% tomorrow due to a company-wide pay reduction, he would find a way to survive. He would cut the extra streaming services, cook at home more often, and find a cheaper way to commute. The secret to the Hara Hachi Bu method is to perform that cut yourself before the world does it for you. By automating that 20% transfer the second your paycheck hits, you force your lifestyle to adapt to the 80% that remains. And within 3 months, your brain will stop even noticing the missing money while your wealth begins to grow at an accelerating rate. The long-term math of this one habit is genuinely mind-blowing when you see it play out over a career. If our friend Sarah earns $60,000 and lives on 80% of it while investing the rest at a standard market return, she will eventually reach a point where her Freedom Fund generates more monthly income than her actual job does. At that moment, work becomes optional, and the stress of money vanishes forever. However, if she stays a 100%er, she will be forced to work until her body literally cannot do it anymore, regardless of how much her salary increases over the years. The choice isn't between buying a coffee and not buying a coffee. The choice is between having a slightly nicer car today or owning your entire life 20 years from now. Mark finally decided to stop eating his entire financial meal and set up an automatic transfer for his 20% gap this morning, and the relief he felt was almost immediate. He realized that the few $100s a month he was missing didn't actually change his daily happiness, but the growing balance in his investment account changed his entire outlook on the future. My challenge for you today is to apply the wisdom of the Okinawan elders to your own bank account. Do not try to overhaul your entire existence in one afternoon. Just log into your bank and set up an automatic transfer for even 10% to start, then move it to 20% when you realize you don't miss it. The goal isn't to see how much you can spend, but to see how much freedom you can buy. Because once you learn to live on 80%, you finally gain the power to own 100% of your time.